For me, the problematic is that whether it's 10 years or 10 months or 10 weeks, for me, there's an inevitability to these incidents recurring. And those incidents in themselves are always tragic. But in 2011, we saw the potential ripple effects of what can happen in terms of civil disorder when a lot of people feel that an injustice has taken place, in which case, what then occurs, which are known as riots. Some people call them uprisings, whatever word you want to use it. In 2011, following the killing of Mark Duggan by the police, I believe a further 5 people lost their lives in the subsequent riots. When we started filming The Hard Stop, we had no funding at all. What we had was access to Marcus Knox-Hook, who was under house arrest at the time and was being charged with pretty much being the person who started the initial riot in Tottenham, which then spread across London and then spread across cities in England. In terms of the difference between The Hard Stop and the more recent Panorama about Kris Kaba, I was employed by the BBC to make a Panorama, and there were some things that I would have done differently if I was making the film independently, as I did The Hard Stop. So I had a few robust conversations, editorial conversations with the exec producers at Panorama. In my opinion, there were certain things that were not done properly in terms of how the police went about putting this hard stop procedure in place. See, the way a hard stop is done, the idea is to contain the vehicle in which the suspect is driving, and they do that usually with 3 vehicles, 1 in front, 1 to the side, and 1 behind. And on this side there's nowhere to go. That's a pavement and housing, so that's a block, a containment. They then jump out of the cars shouting, "Get out of the car, get out of don't stop, armed police, armed police." And my question to a police officer who appears in The Hard Stop towards the end, Mick Leese, was, why are the police behaving in such an aggressive manner? And does that not possibly lend itself or lead to lethal force being used when it might not need to be used? If perhaps the approach to this hard stop was done in a calmer way, a more measured way, with less aggression and less shouting. And the reason why the police behave so aggressively when they're doing the hard stop is the suspect is supposed to be awed, shocked and awed and cowed and intimidated into just doing nothing, freeze. And so from the police's point of view, they shouldn't have to fire their weapons. It should be a dominance just by their presence, by the shouting, by the fact they've got guns, etc., etc. Unfortunately, it didn't have the desired effect on Kris Kaba, because he didn't stop the vehicle. Now that, in my opinion, can get you shot by the police in this country, especially if you're a young black man. There's all these questions that lay people, probably myself, I've asked in the past, which is to, the police, why did you have to shoot him twice in the chest? If anything, couldn't you have shot his arm or shot his leg? But the police aren't trained to shoot people's arms or legs. They're trained, if they have to stop someone, they do double tap, what they call double taps to the chest area, this area, which of course is the heart, or they're doing a single shot to the head. That's their training. So, you know, it's a very serious situation when you get a hard stop put on you. And statistically speaking, if you're a young black person, your chances of being shot are higher than if you're a white person driving. And therefore, my advice to anyone in that situation would be to do everything you can to just freeze, comply, move very slowly, and show that you are compliant and submissive. I'd like to think, I try not to make documentaries. I try to tell stories on screen. The hard stop is a story, but as such, as storytellers, what I'm trying to do is find the truth. I believe in the hard stop, there is somewhat an investigation into who these people are. I felt quite satisfied with the process of 3 years of filming Marcus Knox Hook and Curtis Henville, who were both born and raised and grew up with Mark Duggan in Broadwater Farm. And I believe that you can tell something about someone by the company they keep. So I felt if I do an investigation of these two chaps, filmed observationally over 3 years, then if I can find out something about the truth of those individuals, then I can find out something about Mark Duggan as well. For me, what I want to do in terms of showing the reality of people like Mark Duggan and Kris Kaba, who, as their own relatives said repeatedly, they were no angels, quote unquote. They were not Boy Scouts. But I know, we all know, they're human beings. And what becomes immediately obvious when you're making a film with the childhood friends of Mark Duggan, and you're filming with Mark Duggan's parents and his brothers and his friends, his circle, is the humanity of those people is there and can be conveyed, and you can put that on screen and you can show that they were loved. But at the same time, you're also interviewing a police officer who's saying Kris Kaba, Mark Duggan were deeply involved with one of the most dangerous and violent street gangs in London. I'm just sort of giving you a rough idea of the kind of comments. So that's another interview that you've done in the film. And you've got that material in the edit suite. And now it's a case of calibrating, balancing that material. Now, I've reached a stage in my life as a black British person where I feel that actually how I describe myself as black British in itself is a paradox, because it's saying I'm black, I'm African of origin, but I'm British. But historically, my ancestors were enslaved by the British. But I'm proud to be British, and I'm proud to be African. So I embrace paradox, and the reason why I'm talking about it now is because both in the case of Mark Duggan and Kris Kaba, my feeling is that there's a paradox because they were both killed lawfully because the law said so, right? In my view, they were both killed in a way that was not just. So I guess what I'm saying is two wrongs don't make a right. I believe, and I think statistics show there is a disproportionate amount of unarmed black men who find themselves being killed in these circumstances, whether it's in a hard stop procedure or whilst in police custody. And this is all historical.